So before we actually start learning anything with Streamlit, let's compare Streamlit with two other popular frameworks. So one is Flask and another one is Dash. So Flask is more like an MVC framework, which is more for building microservices. Dash is a analytics framework mostly for enterprise. Streamlit is the open source one, which this course is all about. So you will learn about all the three and when to use Streamlit over the other two, for which case it's ideal. So let's look at the first thing is let's look at uh, what are the three frameworks. So if you already use analytics at an enterprise level, Dash is a good value for your buck, whereas Streamlit is good for prototyping and for analytics. So Flask is more of a comprehensive application where it's good for integrating more microservices, and we will next discuss when to use when, what are the pros and what are the cons of each of this framework. So Flask is more like a backend framework for web applications. You are just not restricted to data applications. So it's generic, it's more robust, it gives you build customizable applications. It's considered stable and mature, and you have extensive documentation and good support on Stack Overflow. And coming to cons, it does not provide UI components for machine learning, and you need to know Python and HTML CSS language, and it requires a good amount of time on your end to learn the framework. So coming to Dash, Dash is an open source Python library to create reactive web application. So it's basically more than customizable and interactive than probably any other framework. It's mostly used at enterprise level. It has good documentation and it's not open source. So if you want to build your own custom components, you might not be able to do that in Dash. So the thing is, it's mostly built at an enterprise level. So if you are trying to prototype something pretty quick and if you want to add some custom components which you want, you might not be able to do that in Dash. Coming to Streamlit, it's the popular framework for which basically using this you can convert any of your legacy scripts into front end, or any of your good upcoming Jupyter workbooks or any machine learning projects you have. If you want to build a front end and deploy it, Streamlit is a good framework to do it. It supports variety of libraries as listed below. So OpenCV is what we use to make image applications. So in this application we'll be using OpenCV to create a pencil filter and couple of other applications. So we will also be covering charts. So we will be covering Seaborn. We will be using NumPy in this course. So and latex, we will also be using latex here. So latex enables you to write mathematical equations and other stuff, and also you can play with PDF and multiple other stuff. We will also play with APIs here. So it's not that all the applications we'll be creating here are ideal for Streamlit. You can do it in any of the other applications, but since this course is about Streamlit, we will be covering most of application building in Streamlit. And like Streamlit, you don't need to know HTML and CSS, and you get a good variety of UI components like slide bar, collapse bar, expander, radio buttons, file upload, progress bar. So majority of these components are easy to use, and we will be covering them in this course. And you can support latex, OpenCV, Seaborn, Matplotlib. So we will be covering in the further series of this course. While Streamlit does not require some time to learn its own syntax. So basically one downside of Streamlit is you have to learn some custom Streamlit specific functions, which would only limit to this language like any framework. So if you learn some stuff related to Flask or Django, it's very specific to those languages. It's not generic. You can't use it anywhere. The only other thing is it's not that flexible. It supports inbuilt widgets and some customizable third-party UI components, but that list is getting expanded. Streamlit is pretty young. It's not a really old language. So that list is ever growing. So someday it might be more popular than what we currently have. And even it's not true that there is no support for video and animation. I'll show you how you could integrate animation into your Streamlit, but it's not that widely used. And there is some limit. So basically we will show how to implement some download function and upload functions here in this course using the widget. So we will be covering that too in this course. And this one basically is some chart showing the trade-off for all the three. So the only thing you need to remember here is Flask is mature and more adaptable, whereas both Dash and Streamlit are very simple, but they're not that mature and adaptable. So basically, as you already learned from this, Streamlit is for prototyping, Dash is for analytics based workloads, what we build at enterprise level. Flask is a wholesome application, you can use it for a variety of stuff. So that's basically the thing. And we will look at more into Streamlit and what all libraries, functions, components are there in Streamlit, and build some applications in Streamlit in this course.